I welcome into another episode of the Breneman and Butt Show, or the Butt and Breneman Show. Guess we'll have to we'll see where the chips lie at the end of the season, okay? But exciting week last weekend. Before we look forward, we got another exciting week this weekend. So before we look forward, let's talk about my alma mater, USC at Michigan. What were your thoughts on that? There's so much I'm curious about. Let me ask you this. What did you think would happen in that game, and how different was the result?
The result was pretty similar to what I thought would happen, although I thought USC was going to win by a point or two, and that was very close to happening. It is tough to lose a game when you only give up 34 yards passing, but USC found a way to do it. How about a good welcome to the Big Ten moment for USC?
No doubt.
Jake, when I think about USC and Michigan after watching that game, you're going to hate me for saying this, but I still feel better about USC this season the rest of the way than I do Michigan after watching that. I believe that USC matches up the worst with Michigan with their style of play. I mean, playing Michigan is such an anomaly now, especially now with Alex Orji. They run the ball 47 times in that game. Yeah. Playing Michigan is almost like playing Army Navy with the triple option now. It's like they're so different than what they're going to see the rest of the season. And for the most part, USC played well in that game. And the best part for USC was the resiliency, how they bowed up in the second half and found a way to get stops. Reality is USC is one broken tackle, one holding call, one fourth down stop away. Any of those things happen and they win that game. So I think there's things to take away for USC. Miller Moss showed some grit, and after it didn't always go well, after his picks, still found a way to come back and play well in that game. USC's offensive line has to get better and help Miller Moss, but they have firepower. Now for Michigan, we know the Michigan formula, and that is the formula. Play their style of play, control the clock, run the ball for 50 times a game. We said this on last week's show. With Alex Orji at quarterback, they're probably going to run the ball 50 times. Yeah. And they're becoming that where they don't need to get 5 yards a pop running the ball, but if they can wear you down and get 3 yards every time and then break a couple big ones, Mullins had the breakout day. That is the style that's going to help them throughout the rest of the season. I just still see Michigan struggling to match up when they need some offensive firepower, unless that defense plays elite, which they could the rest of the way throughout the season. What did you think? What were some of your takeaways?
I understand what you're saying. And that's probably the big conversation, where great win for Michigan, but is it sustainable? And can you win games against Oregon and Ohio State playing that brand of football? And I say, yes, you can, but you have to be damn near perfect on defense. I mean, they were damn near perfect. Their defensive line played by far their best game of the season. Like, it's hard to expect that level of disruption from your front four every single week, but that's what it took. And offensively, you look at the total numbers, and you bring up a great point where, in the first half, they were able to sustain some drives. In the second half, not really. I thought USC's defense played pretty darn good for the most part. Even when Khalil Mullings broke that long tackle, that was a form tackle. Like, that was a double leg. The guy had him wrapped up, and his teammate hit him, and Khalil just bounced off him. Like, in terms of form, he didn't bring his feet, but a lot of running backs are going down in that scenario. So it just came down to a few plays, and you can win games that way for Michigan because they have. But your margin for error is slim. And the question now is, what can they get out of Alex Orji, and how quickly can they get it? Obviously, not having Colston Loveland, that hurts. But teams are going to play even more aggressive than what USC did defensively. Like, I mean, truly, they will load that box and probably play, the old Madden days, engage 8, and just dare Michigan to throw it until they prove they can do it. So, you're not concerned at all about USC's offensive line? I mean, there's some great D lines here in the conference. I mean, they're playing Penn State here in a few weeks. Like, the O-line looks shaky.
No, I am concerned. The offensive line has to play better. But I think when you think about it, they're playing against one of the best front sevens in college football. They're not going to face a front seven. Yes, Penn State has a great D line. They're going to face good D lines, but Michigan's is probably the best. And I thought at times they bowed up in that game and played well. The first half was not good for them, but third quarter, halfway through the fourth, that USC offensive line showed moments where they played well. So the most impressive thing was just I thought, the resilience for USC. It didn't start well. It didn't always go well, and they found a way to come back in that game, to stay in it, to put themselves in a good position. Now they have to get a stop in the last drive of the game. That can't happen. It just can't happen. You got to find a way to get a tackle. You got to find a way to get a fourth down stop. So that was definitely frustrating for USC fans, but I do see where, not a moral win, but I see where it's your first cross-country game in the Big Ten. You're playing an anomaly in a team like Michigan. They run the ball 47 times. You played it well, probably 44 of the 47 times, and then you found a way and you lost, but it was a close game against the reigning national champion.
Yeah,
there's wins to take away from that for Michigan. A lot of chatter about Michigan the last couple. I mean, everyone was on USC in this game. It was the most popular pick of the week, and Michigan finds a way to win. Jake, the interesting thing, and I've really started to compare Michigan's offense and what I saw against USC to what I see when I call the Army games a few times a year, and I call the Army home games. And obviously they're different. The Army's running the triple option, but it's the same the same strategy on offense.
Yeah.
But the thing that Army does well, and has, when they've been really good, and when those triple option teams are really good, when they run the ball 40, 50 times a game, they find a way to get one or two explosive pass plays that normally go for touchdowns. It's funny. Army was 1 for 4 passing with like 75 yards and a touchdown. And I made the comment to their offensive coordinator, "You're 1 for 4, not very efficient passing." He said, no, 4 attempts, 1 touchdown, 75 yards. That's efficient ball. We don't care about the 3 incompletions.
Yeah.
Michigan has to find a way to, they're not, get the quick game out of it. No drop back. Just some play action shot plays where you can get chunks and get a couple maybe a touchdown a game on some explosive play. That's what Alex Orty Michigan have to figure out. Michigan's not going to have to use quick game, not going to have to do drop back. Just find a way to get some of those explosive plays. It's the same formula that those triple option teams use, and you got to find a way to be efficient passing the ball.
Yeah, and I've watched Alex Orji throw. Like, the dude's got arm talent. He can throw the ball. The question is can he throw it accurately under pressure into coverage? Can he read coverages? That's something Michigan will have to answer to make a run. I gained a ton of respect for Miller Moss in that game. That dude was on the turf. They pressured him on 24 dropbacks, man. And that's a big physical D line. And he just kept getting up and made some big time throws. So I got a ton of respect for him. It was the Friday game, Illinois, Nebraska. What a game. Shout out to our producer, Alex Rue. The Fighting Illini. They fought. Dylan Raiola's a stud, but I'm going to say that to say this. Now we're spinning forward. Illinois coming off a huge road win. Electric environment. The particles in the air in that stadium felt charged up, man. It was so fun to watch. Now they got to do it again. And what I think is the best home environment in college football, Penn State, Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium. What do you have your eyes on in this matchup?
Well, who would have thought going into the season that Penn State, Illinois was going to be one of the games of the year in the Big Ten? I mean, hey, Coach Franklin's calling for whiteout energy.
Yeah.
And
Bielema said, I don't know what that is.
I don't know if you saw that. So there's some chatter going on at Penn State. The administration doesn't want to do 2 whiteouts a year because it just takes so much. I don't want to take away from the main whiteout, but it's going to be a whiteout in Happy Valley on Saturday. It's going to be a whiteout environment, whiteout crowd. The crowd will be wearing white. I guarantee it.
Yep.
So it's going to be a great atmosphere. Luke Altmaier has to play the best football of his career. I thought that against Nebraska, I mean, to go on the road like that when, as underdogs, again, we talk about everyone being on USC. Everyone was on Nebraska in this game on Friday night, and to not turn the football over and to make plays when they had to and find a way to win that game was impressive. So Illinois got the match, their offense, and Luke Altmaier had the matchup of the year against Penn State's defense. And how can they handle Penn State's going to get stops. Penn State's going to get pressure on Altmaier. I think the question becomes, for me, the real key in this game is can Illinois' defense hold Penn State to a couple of field goals in the red zone? I'm kind of looking at that. Penn State's going to be able to move the ball. Penn State's been explosive on offense for the first few weeks, granted not against the great opponents, but can Illinois find a way to, when they get in the red zone, hold Penn State to a field goal or two, keep the game keep the game close, and it's a ball game now. And how does Illinois' offense respond to that? So I'm going to be whoever wins the red zone and who wins inside the 25-yard line, I think will win this game.
I'm really excited. I thought Barry Lunney, the offensive coordinator of Illinois, I thought that was the person of the game. I mean, I
Yeah.
love Tony White, and I really love that Nebraska defense. But in big situations, Illinois ultimately won that battle offensively, and they're going to have to do it again because Tom Allen is an aggressive single high man. That's each
Mhm.
coordinator has their identity. Down in the red zone, Penn State's bringing pressure. Across the 50, Penn State's bringing pressure. Third down, Penn State's bringing pressure, and it's going to be man coverage outside. I'm really excited, AB, because Pat Bryant and Zariah Franklin, that as a wide receiver duo, we're talking top of the conference. Like, of course, Ohio
Yeah.
State's got it, Oregon's got it. There's teams with great receivers, but Illinois, those two guys right there are right in that conversation, tier one. And Altmaier, you said he's got to play the best football of his career. He's been playing the best football of his career.
Yeah.
And what makes him really dangerous, last year at one point he was their leading rusher and leading passer. This year they're not putting that much on his shoulders to run the ball, but he's very capable. And he made some key runs in that Nebraska game to get them into more manageable third downs or fourth downs or to move the chains. That's a big piece of this. And man, I'm looking at Kotelnicki last week, and there's just so much that he does formationally with
Yeah.
shifts, with motions.
Pre-snap. Yeah.
Man, oh
Yeah.
man. And it's perfect how he describes it of a blizzard where it's just vanilla ice cream, but it's all the
Yeah.
dressing that makes it tough. The defense of Illinois has been playing great, and they've taken the ball away. The one thing Penn State doesn't do is give the ball away this year. It's, to me, it's the chess match between both teams' coordinators that's going to play a huge factor.
Well, and you mentioned the Illinois receivers and those skill guys in Franklin and in Bryant. The interesting thing is Penn State historically for the last 5, 6, 7 years has had an elite defensive back, has had a corner. Jake, you and I talked about it before you called their game the other week.
Yeah.
They've had a corner that they really believe in and have had some great DBs. For Penn State, they're still figuring out who that really is. How do they feel about a guy like AJ Harris so the Jalen Reed at the safety position and Cam Miller? Some of these corners and these defensive backs for Penn State are still trying to prove themselves and prove that they're that elite DB that Penn State's always had. You think about Amani Oruwariye and Tariq Castro-Field, like they've always had these guys who are really long and really good. I don't know if they have it right now. So that's a great matchup for these defensive backs at Penn State to kind of prove. And then for Tom Allen to be able to call the defense the way he wants to and bring the pressure and bring pressure on untimely downs, when it's first and second down early, you got to be able to trust your defensive backs against really good receivers. So how those guys hold up against a great receiver core that Illinois has will definitely be an interesting, component of this game. For Penn State's offense, they have to find a way to protect Drew Aller and keep hits off of him and just allow Aller to get in control of this game completely. I also think the pre-snap shifts and motions that Kotelnicki uses, as great as they are for confusing the defense, a lot of what they're doing is also clearing the picture for Drew Aller.
Yep.
And motion and shifts are, yes, it's a blizzard for the Illinois defense, but you'll see in that game shifts and motions being used as indicators for Drew Aller to see what the defense is in, to see if are they in man, are they in zone, to see where the pressure is coming from. Kotelnicki, it is a chess match. He's a genius in what he does, using personnel. I also expect that Penn State has some creative package with Bo Pribula in this game that they've been, they were using it earlier in the season, Jake, the Bo Pribula package with their backup quarterback. The question is always, will they use it in big moments? It's easy to use it when you're up by 21 points and you put in the Wildcat Bo Pribula package, their backup, who's a great athlete, but will they use it on a 3rd down and 2 against Illinois in the first quarter? Will they use it in the red zone? I'm interested to see. I think they will. I think we'll see Bo Pribula have a big role in this game, and Illinois is going to have to find a way to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, they used it last week early, and it was an interception, but it wasn't. It was just perfect for Kent State. Obviously, not perfect for Penn State. I almost think they've been playing good enough in a game like this. I don't know that I would go to it, but that's why Kotelnicki is who he is. I think they can their offense doesn't need as much trickery. Drew Aller has been playing good. The running backs are playing phenomenal. The O-line as a whole is playing better. So that's going to be quite the matchup. I do want to show some love, man. Indiana, Maryland, Maryland traveling on the road to Indiana. Indiana, the surprise team of the conference to everybody but Kurt Cignetti. Meanwhile, Billy Edwards and Ty Felton, statistically, that's the best wide receiver quarterback duo right now in the Big Ten. Like statistically, those guys are dominating. A lot of offensive firepower, huge game for both teams. Indiana, I think they were like just outside of the AP top 25. They were receiving votes are like 26, 27, 28. Maryland just a little bit behind them. What are you thinking about this game? What it could mean for, Cignetti or Coach Loxley?
Both those coaches have done great jobs. Man, just Cignetti. Indiana is playing some really good football right now. And it's not that surprising. Cignetti told us it was going to happen. In his press conference, he said, I win, Google me. So he's won everywhere he's been. Cignetti has brought a sense of confidence and belief to that Indiana program that they needed desperately. And one of the interesting things, I interviewed him this offseason. I told you guys the story of being late, but one of the things he said was, I asked him about the balance of doing things your way versus, when you go get a new job, how do you take what's been done here before and then blend it with what you want to do and kind of respect to the players? And he was like, why would we do anything the way they've done it around here? This place hasn't been good enough for football. And, and I just thought he was so bold in his approach to it of, we're going to tear it up and change everything about this Indiana culture. And he has. I mean, Cignetti's the first coach in Indiana history to start the season 4-0, to start his first year 4-0. They've run for 200 yards in 3 of their games. They're one of the only teams in the country that hasn't turned the football over. They've blown out every team they played. Indiana's got a real chance to ruffle some feathers in the Big Ten here as we go down the stretch. But then you look at the other side and Maryland and Billy Edwards, you mentioned, and Mike Loxley, he's going to find ways to score points and be good on offense. And that team's playing with a lot of confidence. And Maryland had a lot of hype going into the season. So this is a huge game. I'm not sure I would have circled it at the preseason, but now with the way Indiana's playing and with kind of the swagger Maryland's playing with, this is a game that's got a chance to have a big impact on what the Big Ten looks like in a few weeks.
Absolutely. And for Curtis Rourke, I believe it's 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on the season, like very efficient. They had 6 rushing touchdowns last week. 5 different guys ran it in. The offensive line is, I understand, but who they've played, but the fundamentals are there. They're spreading the ball around. You look at Kurt Cignetti, just rewriting record books, first team to do XYZ, ABC. It's so impressive. And for Loxley, just quietly, those that know, like every year, what you can expect is an explosive offense. They're a receiver factory. I mean, Ty Felton, yes, Caden Prather right there. They're an offensive powerhouse. So I just think about, there's the obvious choices of quarterbacks in our conference, of Dylan Gabriel, of Drew Aller, of Will Rogers, Miller Malt, like guys at the top. But the quarterback that wins this, if they continue to play to their standards, because both Billy Edwards and Curtis Rourke have been playing great, it'll be impossible to ignore. So it's got huge implications for the conference, huge implications for the confidence of one of these teams. You look at Indiana's schedule, my goodness, they could be making a serious run at the conference title. Like I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's most likely, but that schedule lines up. If they can win this one, man, it would be a huge boost.
Jake, 2 quick questions for you. First, I want to start with this. Alex Rue, our friend and Illinois fanatic alum, asked me to put together my 5 top quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And this was a struggle. I sent him like 9 different lists. I kept changing it. Because, you have like your initial gut instinct. Then you start doing some research and you start looking at some more tape. So I went Dylan Gabriel 1. I also will say this was, I think, before the Friday game, the Friday Illinois-Nebraska game. Dylan Gabriel 1, Drew Aller 2, Curtis Rourke 3, Miller Moss 4, Will Howard 5. How do you feel with that list?
I wouldn't have Will Howard. The only thing is I would not have Will Howard in there. I think Altmaier.
Jake, Howard?
Yeah, I wouldn't have him in there. I wouldn't. I think the context matters. Like he has the best weapons around him, and they've played the least amount of competition, and he's really missed on some deep balls. I think Altmaier has two of the most impressive wins, Kansas,
Yeah.
Nebraska, and he's playing great. Uh, Will Rogers in there as well. Like Will Rogers has been playing extremely efficient. Maybe
But
not
but he lost to
but
Washington
he,
State.
yeah, he lost, but you know that the team lost 15 penalties or something, a questionable fourth
Yeah.
down call. I'd have those guys. Raiola, I wouldn't have Will Howard in there. I get it, but it's less impressive to me because of what he has around him and the level of competition.
You know I'm scared of the Ohio State fans, so I'm pretty sure the first one I sent Rue did not have Will Howard in there, and then I put him at now. But
Yeah.
I think now with how Luke Altmaier's played, especially on
Yeah.
Friday night, I think you got to put him in there. Second question, real quick, Jake. Interested to hear your thoughts. If you were starting a college football program right now, you know, I'm thinking of Curtis Rourke. Indiana went out and got a guy who was one of the best quarterbacks in the MAC and brought in the transfer and a bunch of experience and confidence in his in the later half of his career versus the Nebraska having a guy like Dylan Raiola. You know, then you also have guys who maybe played at a big time, if you're, you know, big time program, didn't play all that well or played average, and then they want to replace him. Then you take the transfer quarterback. Think of Dylan Gabriel coming from Oklahoma. I'm not that he didn't play well, but you get the guy from a different program, same level. What's the best strategy you think to build a program from a quarterback standpoint? Because I think I have my belief, but interested to hear yours first.
I think, and it's for quarterback, it's for everyone. Like you have got to invest in scouting. You know,
Yeah.
for Signetti, not just Rourke, but they scouted and trust. So many of those transfers came from JMU or smaller schools, and they're playing like a power 4, power 5 play, you know, so it's a scouting thing. Michigan, a lot of their best players in their championship runs were lower rated guys scouting.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Yeah, it doesn't matter where they come from. You got to evaluate them well. I do think there's something to be said about a guy like Curtis Rourke who comes from a lower level but has played extremely well,
Yeah.
who has a lot of confidence, that has that chip on their shoulder a little bit, that they weren't believed in enough when they were in high school, and they have that grittiness, different than a guy who's been a 4 or 5 star his whole career, didn't always go well, and then transfers. Something about transferring from a level down to a level below to up, it's worked out for a lot of programs now in college football, and Curtis Rourke's a great example.
Yep. Of course, system coaching, everything matters. So be a fun game this weekend, man. It just continues to reveal the truth of our conference. So big time implications for the games this weekend.
Are you calling it? You're calling the game?
I got Indiana. I got Maryland at Indiana. Yeah.
Let's go, man.
Pumped.
That'll be a fun one. I'll be tuned in.
That'll be a fun one, man. Offensive firepower. It's going to be back and forth. I'm looking forward to it. So it's good to see you, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.